All right, this is part 3 of 11.4, two-way tables. Okay, finally, we're going to answer that essential question I'm sure you've been waiting. A conditional relative frequency is the ratio of the joint relative frequency, okay, that was the one that was in the box in the last example, to the marginal relative frequency. You can find the conditional relative frequency by using a row total or a column total of a two-way table. Okay, the issue here is that if you are doing a ratio of the joint relative frequency to the marginal relative frequency, so let's say JRF to the MRF, that ratio, it depends on which margin you're talking about. So if you look at the last example, there was joint relative frequency of 0.18. If you remember in this last example, you can look at it, 0.18. Now, if we're going to use a marginal relative frequency, do we use the 0.33, which was the marginal relative frequency in the column, or do we use the 0.05, it's up there, the 0.05, which was the marginal relative frequency for the row? And you have to be told which one. So you're going to use the survey results from example 3 to make a two-way table that shows the conditional relative frequencies based on the column totals. So we're going to use the column. So the column was 0.33. So we're going to take the joint relative frequency, people who said yes who are juniors, which was 0.18, and we're going to write that as a ratio out of the 0.33 total that said yes, the 33% you said yes. Okay, what this is telling us then, this right here, this conditional relative frequency is saying, out of the people who said yes, that's the condition. Out of the people who said yes, that's the 0.33. Out of the people who said yes, what percentage of them were juniors? Well, that's 55%. So 55% of the people who said yes, that's the condition, were juniors. So if you take the joint relative frequency of seniors that said yes, which was 0.15 of the total, right, of the entire group that was asked, whether they said yes or no, and then you write that as a ratio out of the 0.33, which is the all the percentage of all, it was the all of them who said yes, 45%, given that they said yes, 45% were seniors. So what does 0.48 mean here? Well, you take the joint relative frequency of people who were juniors that said no. That was 0.32 of 32% of the total sample, 680 students. And you write now that as a ratio out of the 0.67, which was the percentage or the decimal that represented all of the people who said no. We're writing 0.32 out of 0.67, 48%, given the condition that they said no, were juniors. That's the conditional relative frequency. So this is a conditional relative frequency because what this is saying is 52% of the people that said no were seniors. So that's a conditional relative frequency. Keeping all of these different vocabulary terms in mind is tough. There's a lot there. So what I suggest that you do is that when you actually take an assessment, you keep working with these and you'll start to get it more and more and more. Just to do a real quick summarization, a joint frequency is just a raw number. It's just a number because it's how many people there were total. A marginal frequency, it's just you're adding together those joint frequencies, right? Like the row joint frequency plus the row joint frequency, right? So this is just like raw numbers. As soon as you get into relative frequencies, like joint relative frequency, now you have something like this, the joint frequency out of the total, okay? And then you have something like the marginal relative frequency. That's still going to be the joint relative frequency plus the joint relative frequency, either by column or by row. And then we have the conditional relative frequency. And that's going to be the joint relative frequency over one of the marginal relative frequencies, either the column or the total. I doubt that really helps you necessarily that much. I get it. This is something you just keep having to work with, and you're going to get it better and better if you continue to reinforce that vocab. All right, everybody, you are amazing. I miss you. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you the next time.